Welcome to the show. Happy Friday, everyone. Whether it's the morning or evening or afternoon, you are watching RHMax. You've been maxed. You've been maxed today. You're getting maxed right now. Take it for what you will. You're getting maxed. It's going well, actually. For me, just took a run. Feeling good. Pumped to do the DeFi mindset with a couple gentlemen, Crypto Kindness and Ben Dubard. God, I wish Ben's last name was different. I'm just kidding. Actually, I kind of want to abbreviate like BDB. That actually sounds kind of cool. BDB. I wonder if he's thought about that. I'll ask him. BDB. Anyways, it's going to be a great show. Talk about DeFi. Talk about, of course, Richard Heart ecosystem stuff, HEX, PulseChain, all that good stuff. It's going to be a little bit, we got some interesting topics. Of course, AMA. You guys ask anything you want, usually within context. It would be nice, but anything that's going on, and then we'll talk about just some of the like actual mindset stuff, and then how that plays into DeFi. I want to talk about contrarianism a little bit. I'm really into that. Peter Thiel, one of my personal heroes, and we will, Alex Ramosi, we'll talk about him as well. That's who I've really been on a kick on listening to lately. Other than that, just watched the White Lotus season 2 finale yesterday. Pretty good. Full of surprises. Won't ruin it for anyone if you're watching the show, but if you haven't watched White Lotus, I recommend it. Pretty good show. First season, excellent. Second season, also excellent. And that's what I was watching last night before went to bed. Wake up and just get out. What was the phrase? Make it a great day. Somebody, was that from what was from that movie? That was from that one movie with that one guy lately that they kind of made fun of. But anyways, that's a good saying. I like it. Without further ado, I'll stop rambling now. Let's bring him in. The guy who kicked off my streaming career on first episode ever. We'll talk to him for a few minutes. Give him a special highlight few minutes before we bring Ben in. Crypto Kindness, welcome to the show.
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Doing good. I think I'm just when I see you now, especially when I see you with me on the stream again, it just really reminds me of my first streams, and I'll bring it up here in a second too. But just my white wall background. I started sitting for my first few streams, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to stand, and 3 cameras later, 4 microphones later, and people still complain about stuff. But I think I came a long way. I guess you could say.
I mean, I was watching your intro and I was like, wow, that's impressive. And you got this great custom background. I mean, it's a different world since the last time we talked. It's amazing. It's funny you mentioned about the microphones and the cameras. I think I'm on my 3rd camera, and this one's already headed to the garbage bin. It's like, oh my God, how is this difficult? I mean, microphone, I need to get a boom because I sit and I move a lot. I'm like a sugared up 2-year-old, man. I can't sit still at all. So it's like, I'm always moving around the camera. I got to get a boom and put it in front of my face and sit still. But
you feel it's like cool. You sit down, your hands and legs want to move more often, maybe?
I've got a pen here. I'm twirling my pen. I'm always, you're going to watch me. I'll probably bump my head into the microphone doing something. I'm fidgety.
Nice.
But actually, what I'm excited about this stream is I haven't been on somebody else's channel in a while. And I just get to sit back and talk. Like, I don't have to worry about the comments or all the other stuff that's going on. So, hey, what's up, Steve D? Good to see you.
I know exactly what you mean. It's every time, I did 4 shows this week. And so like now it's Friday. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take the weekend off. I'm not streaming this weekend.
Yeah.
But when I go on someone else's show, I'm just thinking, wow, this is so great. I just show up, and then I just, you got to talk more usually, because usually there's posing questions and stuff like that. So my voice is definitely more hoarse at the end of it, but it's way easier. I don't have to talk to the chat as much. I don't have to, switch between screens. It's fantastic. I just want to throw up, in case anyone's interested, this was, so all the first intro, outro, thumbnails, everything I did completely myself. And you could tell I'm not a graphic artist or artistic in much of any way when it comes to digital media. So this is the first stream we did together, and then I don't have audio hooked up here, but see, like no custom screen, and then here's me. Here's me. And I remember Kindness was so kind to spend so much time with me beforehand or afterwards. Actually, I didn't know the thing of, stay on and we'll talk afterwards. So he's like, no, come back. Where are you? I dropped off right after the stream. I came back and he's like, oh, let me show you some stuff. Let me, teach you how to be a streamer. And yeah, you spent like maybe 30 minutes with me, super gracious with your time. And I'll never forget that, man. I really appreciate you just taking extra time to just help me figure things out. Cause you don't know, what you don't know.
Look at my old setup. It's funny to go back and look at old stuff and you're like, oh my God, how did I ever do that? But
yeah. I still have the white walls. They're right here. They're just not in the background anymore.
I still got my whole guitar set up. It's over there, but the lighting was so poor over there. Now I've got the natural lighting sitting by a wall, and it's cool to see that you didn't listen to anything I told you during that after sit down session, because you've completely surpassed me in quality and everything else. So I'm glad you didn't listen to anything I said.
There was some things I'm trying to think. There was some things that I think I'm trying to think what you helped me the most on. Definitely with thumbnails and with just like interacting and with the chat and like talking to chat and stuff like that. And of course, yeah, like, I don't think I took everything. There was some things I remember you saying them. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that in my head too. And then afterwards, it kind of came together. I took what I thought was valuable, which was most of it, and then I just made it into my own show. And it's, again, always be grateful for that. I still love my original intro. I'll say I still love the money grabbing fist and all that stuff. So it wasn't a bad one. Actually, when I got the new one, shout out to Proof of Beard Only. When I got the new one, because he made all the audio, video package and multimedia, all that stuff. He does it for a lot of channels. Fantastic. Super artist guy. A lot of people were missing the old one. I'm like, I kind of miss it too, but I really like the new one. So I think we're going to keep it.
It's high quality. I mean, it looks like a good production, and that's important. One thing I went away from is any intro video. I started getting a lot of feedback where people were like, it's nice during the live stream.
The one thing I didn't do was afterwards clip out the intro and outro stuff. That's one thing I didn't do that you suggested. I just thought about it. So.
I mean, it's it's a suggestion. It is what it is. It's your channel, but I still get things like on old videos, get rid of the intro. It's a waste of time. It just goes to show you how incredibly impatient people are. It's like, I want my info now. I don't want to wait a minute. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I think it speaks to I think my channel is different than a lot of them too, because I don't monetize. I just have my old principle set of that. If don't want to monetize, don't want to sell you anything. I don't want to just I don't put out clickbait. I try my best when I put out a video, a clip, or whatever it is, when you click on it, you don't get something you don't expect in a bad way, especially. I try to underrate my content so you're pleasantly surprised rather than the other way around.
Sure.
And that doesn't give me all the subs. It doesn't give me all the clicks. It makes the channel grow slower, but I'm okay with that because my goal isn't to grow the fastest, be the most popular, be the most famous. All this stuff is to help the RH community figure stuff out and produce great content for them, and produce content of things that I like to talk about. And that's what I optimize towards. And that's the way the channel kind of formed.
That's what matters. That's all that matters. It's your channel. That's it. And the thing that, looking back, it's been 1.5 years I've been doing this now. And first of all, I can't believe how fast that's gone by. But the thing that is amazing to me is that everybody thinks you should do what they want on your channel. And it's like, I mean, I had a guy go off on me in the comments of my latest stream yesterday, just belittling me. How dare I invite this guest on, and how dare I do this, and how dare I do that? And I'm like, I think you're missing something. It's my channel.
Yeah. I do get suggestions every once in a while, and either in the comments or just people talk to in real life or over video. I'm just like, I mean, a lot of the stuff, it's just not what I want to do. Like, oh, you should put the interview a link into each of the clips. I'm like, I have a very frictionless clipping routine, and if you knew how much time, if you did all the clips that a lot of creators do, you would understand that, like, if you put one extra thing into it, it sounds small, but then the whole process gets a little bit more complicated. Now I got to open 2 windows and have to copy and paste, and I got to click the buttons 50 more times. I don't want to do any of that. I want to do the most seamless, frictionless way possible, where I can put out the most amount of quality content without having like all the, it's just, I just deprioritize it. It's not that it's not important. I just deprioritize stuff like that.
Exactly. It is a huge time suck if you let it be one, or you can just say, I did the conversation, either listen to it or don't, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, we talked about that a while back. 4 hours. I calculated, but from start to finish, including the stream time, the prep, the schedule coordination, the clipping, the thumbs, around 4 hours per episode. I think I've got it down to around 3 now, just because I've
Nice.
just been like blazing super hard with it. And again, I ruthlessly prioritize what I want to do and what I want to put in the process. But
Nice.
it's a lot of work. And then everyone else just shows up and says, "Oh, your mic sucks." Cool. Thank you for that. Thank you for the mic sucks.
Yeah. Out of all of this, that's what you took out of it. Wonderful. I really appreciate your feedback.
Like there's some elaborate ones. It's like, it's not only Max sucks. It's like, Max sucks. This would be so much better content if you just invested in. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna positive energy. I may mute your comment. I may not remove it, but I may mute it so I don't have to look at it when I go to Creator Studio.
I've gotten a lot. I mean, I feel like it goes against the ethos of my channel of crypto kindness, but at the same time, I control what I see because I don't want to see a bunch of negativity. So I've gotten better at muting and blocking people. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't need to see that when I open my stuff. And if you're going to be a miserable individual, go be miserable somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. It's
really, that's what it boils down to, is when you see these people that are just madder than heck about you doing you, it's like, man, I have a place of empathy in my heart for those people, because all it screams to me at this point is that they're just not happy with life. And I see that and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but not on my channel. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, I feel like this is not about me. This may be about
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's well, I'm glad you pigeonhole yourself into crypto kindness. So you must demonstrate more kindness than usual. And same way with me. I purposely, my name is RHMax, and I don't want to be distracted by any other stuff. So I name myself that. So anytime I get tempted, I'm like, remember what your name is.
Well, so and you can, I mean, it's not like you can't participate in that stuff. You just don't talk about it. That's your channel. I mean, maybe you are investing in other things. Maybe you're not. I don't know. We don't need to discuss it. But what you talk about is RHMax, and that's awesome.
Yep, exactly. Well, another person who has been blowing up a little bit lately with he's joined the TikTok gang. I'm almost gonna like Furu Finances. They're starting a movement. They've started the movement. They have it's not even early. It's like they're quite a bit ways through the movement of making sure HEX is proliferating through the TikTok and through the shorts atmosphere. Welcome to the show, BDB. I'm calling it right now. BDB.
Nice. Hey, what's up, man? Hello, Crypto Kindness.
What's going on?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Glad to have you on, Ben.
Thanks. Yeah. So what's going on?
Man, we just we did a little bit of the reminiscing, and now I really want to get into, before we talk about mind, I want to go shift kind of like from a mental state of mindset, and then really get into PulseChain and RH stuff and talk about that too. But before we get into that, maybe to give people an intro, like, who you are, how long you've been streaming, how'd you get into RH stuff, crypto, just give people an intro of what you've been doing in the community.
Yeah. So I got into crypto, like kind of fell down the rabbit hole in like July 2020. And then I found Trevon James. I was watching like Altcoin Daily and like all these kind of mainstream guys. And then Trevon was kind of the first guy I saw who was like a little different. Like he was keeping it real, he wasn't just like kind of saying the same stuff. And then he was doing this like yield farming on Tron. He was a big Tron guy at the time. So my actual like 2 months into crypto, I was like on Tron yield farming, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was in his like paid group. And like everyone's freaking out in this group. They're like, salmon farm just dropped, like get in now. And I'm like over here, like I had no idea what I was doing. I was like farming Sriracha coin. It was like super dumb. And he was always talking about HEX. And I was just like, okay. So one day I decided to like look into it. And Tron has Tron wallet, which makes sense to me because it's the wallet for Tron. But then with Ethereum, it was called MetaMask, and the Fox thing just kind of creeped me out. And I was like, this is weird. Why isn't it called Ethereum wallet? I don't like this. And everyone was like, Ethereum sucks. It has high fees. So I was like, well, Tron, it was like a penny or something. So I was like, well, who cares? I just won't even like bother with it. And then the run up to big payday, he started like talking about it again. He was like, this coin doesn't stop, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to like get on and get some. So my first buy was like over a penny on that run up. So it was a good entry point, but I didn't really understand much of it. I just knew it was kind of like long term, and I'd kind of been the thing that had been pushed into me growing up was like a Roth IRA. So I got this. I knew the idea of long term investing. You know, that's kind of what I'd been raised with. My dad was very against like stocks. He's like, oh, you never know if like one day they find out Budweiser causes cancer and then the stock goes to zero. Like that was like the thing he used to tell me. So I'd be like, yeah, okay. So
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it was interesting to me, and that's all I understood about it. I remember going into the Telegram and trying to ask questions, and I'd be like, "What's a T-share?" And people would say, "It's 1 trillion shares," and I'd be like, "That doesn't." I'm like, "That doesn't answer my question at all."
Trillion shares, dummy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's shortened version.
Yeah, you got to throw in an insult.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like a little hostile but that's kind of what makes the community so tight knit. But I felt like, why am I being treated like I'm stupid? They'd be like, it's on the website, you know? And I'm like, I read the website and I didn't understand. Yeah. So that's why I'm here asking questions. But it was fun. And then it didn't do anything for a while after that. Like it had that big dump. And then I didn't care about it because everything else was pumping and kind of going crazy. And I stopped. I kind of listened to Richard some. But I think at the time, I don't know, I was like, whatever. And I was listening to like the mainstream crypto guys. I don't want to name all of them, but all these guys are kind of like, you find out later are scumbags. But at the time I'm like, oh, these guys, you know, they're shilling me all these coins. And then, so Richard Hart called the top on the day and I saw that and I was like, I think you're wrong, man. Cause everyone I was listening to was like, no, it's like, this isn't it. This isn't it. We're still going.
150K, 160K. It's going.
Trillion
exactly.
energy.
It was like at least 100K, you know, that kind of thing. So then everything kind of dumped. And I remember the day I had just like this terrible feeling. Like I was like, holy crap, like everything is dying. And then the HEX that I had bought all this time ago, which it wasn't, you know, in hindsight, it's 2020. I could have bought a ton more, but it was enough that it started taking off where it was like, I was like, whoa, you know, this is crazy. And I was like, I'm never doubting Richard Hart again. Like never going to because he literally called it on the day against everyone else. And then I just like, I took these courses on the Ivan on Tech Academy about Bitcoin, and because then the market was dead and it was boring. So I was like, well, I like really love crypto. Like I really fell down the rabbit hole and was like watching super into it, super into this idea of like a fair, better financial system and all this stuff. And I've always had an interest in like money from a young age, I guess. So I really loved it. So I was like, I want to learn more about kind of the tech stuff. So once I took these courses on kind of learning the underlying technology of Bitcoin, like the Ivan on Tech, well, it's called the Morales Academy now, but it's really well done. Like he explains everything so well, and it's like in short clips, and it's actually like a course where like he gives you questions and then you go answer them in like a forum, and you can kind of like see if you got the answers right. So if you actually try, I mean, you could just sit there but like, why would you do that? Because you're paying for it.
Yeah.
But so you go through and like you learn about like the mempool and like how all this stuff works, like the knots. Like you learn like these very technical things. So then when I started listening to Richard Hart streams, I actually could appreciate more how smart he was, like from a technical aspect. Like I was like, oh, and like I can understand all these arguments he's making. So made me appreciate him a lot more. And then I would listen to Quant Gang. That's kind of what I just started listening to. That was the first real like HEX thing I really like fell into. Where I was like all the time listening to Quant Gang or Richard Hart streams.
Quant Gang.
Yeah. And that's when I really got a grasp of the t-shirt. But it was weird because it was like every time I thought I knew HEX, I would like a few months later, I'd be like, wow, I just realized this new thing. I don't know. It was like
B shares.
It was so complicated. Like, I don't know. It took me a while to fully understand all the stuff going on with it. And then I started making content. I made a video like 7 months ago about PulseChain and PulseX. And it was really because people in my life had been asking me that exact question, like how can I buy it if I miss the sacrifice phases? So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a video about it and then send it to the people who keep asking me this. And then it's a long story. I had no electricity for a month. I was living in Portugal at the time. It is a whole disaster where I was like excited to start posting content, and then this crap happened, and then yeah, that's a whole nother mess. So now I'm here and I'm posting more consistent, and I'm like pretty happy about it.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Good.
It's kind of funny to listen to you say that. It's like an autobiography of what I did. Like I went through the exact same processes, watched all the gurus, everybody talking about this is going to be worth that. HEX is stupid, all this. And then Richard Hart was right. And you're like, oh, man, if I'd only listened early on, I'd be like RHMax, who just, sits around home, works out, gets good looking, and creates good content. It's awesome.
Yeah, and at the time,
skipped a month in Portugal, so I avoided that somehow. So thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, because they don't do tax on crypto. I thought, obviously, you're a U.S. citizen, you have to pay tax, but I thought maybe long term it'd be a good move. And I speak Portuguese pretty well because I lived in Brazil when I was 15 for a year, doing it's like a full immersion exchange program. So I went to a Brazilian school, lived with these 3 Brazilian families. And I learned Portuguese pretty well. So I was like, oh, it'd be cool to retain my Portuguese. But there's just not having electricity for a month. It was something that it's different than America in a lot of ways. And so living in Brazil as a kid, I didn't have these adult responsibilities, and it was awesome because I just ran around and I love soccer. So I ran around and played soccer all day. I'd go party or whatever. But then living in Portugal as an adult, Portugal's a great place. Not trying to crap on it, but there's some things they're a lot more relaxed, and you're like, hey, I want this done by this day, and they're like, yeah, okay, and then 2 weeks later they show up at a different time. It's just I'm used to when you're an adult trying to do things, and that might have just been where I was too in Portugal, and the people helping me. So I don't want to mean to categorize all of Portugal, all the Portuguese people as this kind of way, but yeah. And I missed family, and
you had me no electricity too. That would be an interesting experience. I don't think I've ever did anything like that. I've been camping for a while, which maybe counts somewhat, but not.
I don't think it's the same.
I think that would be a good detox. So honestly, I feel like that's almost attractive. I could think about doing it if you're going to take some time off and kind of think things through, maybe. But does that sound like that wasn't what you were going there for, though?
No, because I was trying to start posting content like I am now. And it was kind of big to come out and start doing that because it's anxiety inducing kind of. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. And I feel like the HEX community, I was a little intimidated to post content because the HEX community has very high standards, which is a good thing. But I was like, I don't want to make something bad, or I don't want to say anything wrong. I want this to be very good and well done. So once I posted 2 videos, I was like, okay, I'm getting used to it, and I'm getting used to the editing software, and I'm feeling in the groove, and I'm going to keep doing it. And it was a big deal for me to just keep doing it. And then, me and my girlfriend, we've been together for over 6 years and stuff. We get home from the gym, and this guy's just there. And we had one neighbor, and I could talk about this for hours. It was so lame. Basically, this guy just came and disconnected the electricity, and he was like, oh, no one told me people were living here, or we would have let you know. And he was like, yeah, this needs to be fixed, and this needs to be fixed, and this needs to be fixed. Bye. And we were like,
wow.
So
Okay.
What? And then we kept getting told, it's not we were told it's going to be a month. We were told it's going to be 2 days. And we were like, okay, and when we were told that, I was like, there's no way it's going to be 2 days. And my neighbor and my girlfriend were like, Ben, oh, come on, Ben. And I was like, this is not going to take 2 days. This is going to take weeks. And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then we kept getting told next week, the next day. It was kind of like torture. It was kind of pulling my hair out. This sucks. So.
Yeah. You went there and you were trying to make content, and then electricity. You got rug pulled for electricity. That sounds rough, man. That's rough.
Yeah.
But it was all good. We don't really regret it because I think if we hadn't done it, we would have been sitting around all this time oh, we should move to Portugal. It'll be awesome. And I'm a very I just follow my intuition and just do stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's go to Portugal. And my girlfriend was like, yeah, okay. And then I just set it all up, and we're going. And we just did it. So yeah.
Interesting, man. Yeah. I just wanted something I've been thinking about recently too, and I think I get from Naval Ravikant. I think Ben, you're familiar with Naval, right?
Yeah, I really
I've seen
like
you retweet
Naval.
some stuff. I was like, oh, cool, another Navalian.
That's right.
Yeah, he's a Naval Ravikant. If anyone's interested in looking him up, has one of my favorite books of all time, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and I've consumed. But like when I find somebody I want to learn from, I basically just like Richard, I go and can just consume like hundreds of hours of the content wherever I can find it, and try to get all the best ideas and all the things I can learn from. But I was thinking about this weekend too. I may even have this poster somewhere about how to reason about what you do in life and how you think about your values. And the three things that came to mind, and again, I think this may come from Naval, he's mentioned it before in one context or another, is health, family, and mission. And I even applied it to this channel too. And me and Kindness talked about in the beginning about the mission and how you optimize and how you create things around that. And maybe you go, outside of it every once in a while, but I guess it's kind of like your founding principles. And I thought that would be something that I really try to map things in my life to, is it going to help my health? Is it going to help my family? Is it going to help my mission? And prioritize, going through things and what I spend my time on for that. It will start off with kindness. Like, what do you have some sort of process you go through when you think about how you work on stuff or what you want to do? Does it go through that or some other type of thing?
That's a really good question. I mean, it is like, it's probably something I should have an answer to. I've always been a hard driver to succeed. So my mission essentially has always been just to win. So I'm in sales, and my mission has served me right, or well, I should say, because I've won multiple sales trips and top performance awards and stuff like that. So I just look at, okay, mission one, I want to win. So how do I get there? I probably should start everything under the frame of health because I have chronic health issues. But almost because I have chronic health issues, I don't start with that because I don't like to use my health issues as an excuse to not accomplish things. So, I mean, I could come up with a ton of excuses as to why I can't do this and why I can't do that based on, I have a pretty significant health condition called cystic fibrosis. But I don't play that card. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do all of these things regardless of the fact that I have this health challenge. So, yeah, my mission is to win. And then, so the next question is, how do you define winning? Well, depends on what arena you're playing in. How do I define winning for my YouTube channel? Well, the goal is crypto kindness. And it's interesting, Ben, you were mentioning earlier about how you would post questions or something like this in the community and people would just hammer you. Like, yeah, why don't you know that? Or you're an idiot. And I found that to be the case in all of crypto. While I was learning about crypto, anywhere I went, any comments on YouTube or any Twitter, anything, like if you put up an honest question like, hey, I'm new, I'm trying to learn this, it was just met with insults and vulgarity. And the things people say is just horrible. And I'm a middle-aged dude. So, I've got a ton of friends and family that curious about crypto, but never wanted to get in because they saw, at the time, a couple of years ago, especially, the majority of content producers were like 20-year-old kids, and all they had is the sunglasses and the hoodie and the dark kind of undertones, and it didn't attract the middle-aged crowd. So I was like, okay, I'm going to create a channel that is built based on kindness. So crypto kindness. Come to my channel, ask me any question you want. I don't care if it's the dumbest question in the world based on everybody else's crypto knowledge and standards. You're going to get an honest answer. You're not going to get insulted, and I'm going to help you. So that's my mission. I'm going to create a channel where I'm helpful and I encourage people to get into crypto. And so I make tutorial videos and I interview people that are smarter than me. So I can learn in public because I'm still not an expert. Got a long ways to go. And I can take what I learn and make a content or a tutorial and show other people how to do it. So, so that's how I win in my channel. And I win in my daily life by exercising and staying in shape and that type of stuff. So that's kind of how I do it. I don't know if that answers the question at all.
Well, it got me on the string of like the inner scorecard versus outer scorecard, which I think about a lot these days of, you're like, how do you, the arena you're in, how you define success, winning, all those things. It depends. Like, maybe external success, that's your outer scorecard, what people think of you and your accolades and your status, and your inner scorecard, what do you think of yourself? How do you feel about what you've done? Like do you have integrity? Like, does that matter to you? All those check boxes too. And Ben, again, I'm going through the Naval's like in my head right now too. But yeah, Ben, how do you think, like, like, how do you optimize your life around stuff like this?
That one Naval quote is really like stuck with me, which was like a house full of love, a healthy body, and like a sound mind. I think it was. It's like these things have to be earned.
Evolved. Yeah.
So yeah, I went through this thing in college. I mean, I majored in anthropology in college, which is kind of like an open-ended major where you can just go do anything with it, I guess. People think of archaeology, but there's all these different parts to anthropology. There's biological, forensic, like a lot more, but there's just a lot. So I was more like cultural anthropology, but I took classes in like all of them because you had to where I was at school. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just liked the major and it was cool. And you kind of get a wide education of a lot of different things. It's just a study of humankind as a whole, basically, which I thought was really cool. And I thought like, oh, I can be like a stand-up comedian because I've always been like making people laugh growing up all my life. And then I kind of realized like that would kind of suck because like my idea, when I realized what that would take to do is like, I don't know, maybe it's different now with TikTok and the internet. And we had that stuff then in college. This wasn't that long ago. But I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to have to go to these like crappy bars and perform and not make any money. And I like money. As I said, I'd always been interested in money growing up. So then I was like, well, I think maybe it's not that I like being funny. It's more that I like bringing people joy and I like helping people. So I was like, so maybe I should just try and help people. So there's like this whole epiphany that I had. So then I'd done this internship early in college with like a place that was kind of promoting religious tolerance in the community. And I internship there unpaid. So I like worked at a burger place at the same time. I was just trying to build a resume with something because I've been thinking like get a resume in college to get a job or whatever. So then through that, I met this guy. And I took a semester off from school because, like I said, I had this epiphany, but it was also kind of like a mental breakdown where I was like, I don't know what I want to do in life. And I'm here in college and I'm like, don't know what the heck I want to do. So I took a semester off from college. And in that semester, I volunteered with these refugee kids. And I did like, it was like tutoring. You'd tutor them and then I would coach them in soccer. And it was terrible because it was really hard because you're tutoring and they were victims of torture. So they came from like some bad places and they were a handful and it was all volunteers. So it's not like there's a ton of help there. So I'd have like 6 kids and none of them really know English that well. And I'm trying to all help them all with their homework at the same time. None of them want to do their homework. They just want to be kids. And then you'd go take them onto the soccer field and they wouldn't want to do any drills. They just wanted to run around and kick the ball. And then you have lots of fights because like they've had a pretty rough childhood, I guess. There'd be fights and stuff. It was really stressful. But when I would get home, I felt amazing. Like I felt so good about myself. And it was really interesting to me because it would be so hard to go and do it. Like it was really hard just to go. But then afterwards, I'd always feel just amazing. And so I thought I would do Peace Corps. So that was kind of like a resume builder for Peace Corps. And then I'm just going through my resume, basically. I have a LinkedIn and I have a website and I talk about this stuff too. But then that job basically helped me get a job at the Boys and Girls Club for like a month. Basically, when kids go home for school, they have like a month where they need extra help. And since I was like staying in that town, I worked with them for a month. And that was another job that was like, kind of hard because there's lots of fights or kids getting mad. Like, oh, 1 second kids are playing basketball and the next second they're like want to murder each other or whatever. But it was fun too because then I don't know, I'd shoot hoops with them and just like hang out. But
did this like lead you to the mission of figuring stuff out? I mean, these are incredible experiences.
yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. And then, then I worked with autistic kids in home therapy with autistic kids. So basically, I was like, I just want to help people, but I also want to make money, is basically the thing. Because you got to make money. And I had gotten to this point where I was like, I don't need money. As long as I have enough money to survive, I feel like I'm smart enough investment wise, thinking long term, that kind of thing, that I can work one of these, because these jobs don't pay a lot. And that's why they suck also. And that's why you don't get good workers working there. Because they pay like crap. I was making like $8 an hour, the boys and girls. So this was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like it's a really hard job. And then
I'm not sure if it's tragedy of the commons or another mental model, but it's like, the lower paid jobs, usually attract the lower character people, unfortunately. I mean, of course, there's all kinds of exceptions, but you look at the prime drivers versus the UPS drivers. I just have this in my head today because I was like, guy, you're going too fast around my house. And I know you just got hired like last week. And but the UPS guys are so nice, and we developed a relationship over the years, and they come drop off packages, in a nice way, and they're friendly, and just, anyways, this came to my mind.
Well, it's a weird dynamic because I'm also trying to build a resume for Peace Corps, because at the time I wanted to do Peace Corps. So it's like, it's benefiting me too, because I'm also thinking, oh, this is so good on my resume. So it's like I look like such a good guy. I did all this, and it was hard and I feel good about myself for doing these jobs. The hardest one was probably doing in-home therapy with autistic kids. But it was nice because I think, I don't know, that job was just random. It's not like I was looking to do that. I just kind of found it. There's not a lot of jobs where you can help people and make money, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's kind of just what I was looking for. And I happened to have this experience with kids already. So, and there's a shortage in that job too, especially of men. It's mostly women that do that. So they put me with young, like boys, I guess, who usually have females. They're like helping them. So the parents were really happy that I was there, because they were like, oh, our son can like learn to hang out with another guy instead of like, because they like to beat the crap out of you with lightsabers or something, and you're like, hey, don't do that, like that kind of thing. It's so, but all that led me basically. Then I was a soccer referee, so I was like doing all these conflict management things, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, you have like a crazy expertise in conflict management. Too.
That'll make you a good streamer, because there's an awful lot of conflict when you're a streamer.
Tying it back to Kindness's comments or lack thereof, good comments in the section.
Yeah. So then I was making pretty good money reffing. That was where I made a lot of good money, was refereeing. And I played soccer growing up. So I actually cared about the job, because I'm like, I used to play travel soccer growing up, and I used to hate when I had a bad referee. So I'm going to go and actually try and make decent money. Like, I made more money doing that than I would have like serving tables or something. And I'm running around outside and like kind of watching the game I love a ton. So it was chill. And then COVID happened. I got some really good like stimulus money. And then I just started investing it.
Put it all on the HEX, and now you're going to tell us how much you made?
No, I wish.
I remember that tweet bot of like, if you had to put your stimulus money into HEX, and you would have made like,
Oh, yeah. I wish. But no, I didn't do terrible, I guess. I mean, but yeah, I mean, then the first soccer tournament back, I was like, all right, well, I shouldn't quit my job, and I should, still work. And then I went to a tournament and reffed it. And I think maybe it was COVID made everyone go crazy, because I'm used to abuse from coaches and fans. But this tournament, the first tournament back from COVID, was like, it was like on another level of crazy. Like, these coaches they're getting mad about stuff that didn't make sense. Like, I'd benefit their team with a certain call, and they'd get really mad. Parents are like, it was like a riot was about to happen. And I was like, wow, this is insane. And so I literally just like, and then you're an independent contractor as a referee. Then my assigner kind of screwed me over, where I promised to work. It was like 8 games. Like, there's a shortage of referees, obviously, because of all the abuse. So they're always trying to get you to do more games. And the day is long. Like, you start out, you wake up at like 6 a.m. You get there like an hour before the game, if you're a good referee. Some don't. And then you're You're there till like 8 p.m. Then you go home. But it's awesome because you're outside. At least for me, it was awesome because you're outside all day. And this guy was like, "Oh, work this last game. We need you on this last game." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll do this last game if I can work with my good friend who's also a referee." He was like, "Yeah, okay." And then right before it, he's like, "Hey, I actually switched you to this other game. And by the way, you're going to be the head referee of that game," which after working like 7 or 8 games in the sun, I was not in the right, like, I was exhausted. I was like, I can't be a head referee for a game right now. Like, this is going to be bad. And it was bad. And this coach, like, here's another, I could go on and on about how messed up the youth soccer system is in the United States. But after a game, you have to get the coach to sign a piece of paper. So if the coach is mad at you, he just takes a piece of paper and then yells at you for like 10 minutes and then signs it. And it's like, you can't go anywhere until he signs it. So that was the last straw for me with reffing. And then I've just been doing crypto, down the rabbit hole, really into crypto since then. Sorry, I just rambled for like a long time.
I conflict management. I picked up some tips, I gotta say. Wanted to, before we get into like talking about the DeFi mindset, because this is all like going to add up to something, everyone in the chat, I promise. Something that came to, not because of your story, Ben. I'm just saying in general, like having these conversations, I think it's important to like frame how to come up with a way to think about and execute, and the reason we're all here and not in some other ecosystem. But I was thinking about the contrarian, and that's one aspect that I think has helped me a lot too, and led me into the right products in crypto is, and when I say contrarian, I've said it to people before, and they always think, oh, it's just, you're just going to pick the opposite side of what everyone else likes. No, that's just, you're just like bad at investing, or bad at decision-making, judgment. If you do that, it's not blind conviction. It's more about not taking feedback from society, but starting from the ground up with first principles, and like taking feedback from reality, another somewhat Naval idea as well. And, for example, everyone's calling Bitcoin a scam. People somehow still call HEX a scam. Every institution thinks, you should make this particular medical choice or lose your job. And it's going to be skeptical around those kinds of things too. Funny enough, RH has said he only follows RHMax list now. So it seems like I picked a good set of principles in that, even though I've made a ton of cases, for being a Maxi in this ecosystem before. But I don't think, and I want to tie that contrarian part into, I don't think a Maxi is bad, even a Bitcoin Maxi. Of course, Richard likes to talk about, Bitcoin Maxis, they're this, and I think our community has a lot of that stuff too. But if your mission is to do that, and you set off with those principles, I think that's fine. Whatever kind of Maxi you want to be, you can do it in a healthy way. Which, of course, I don't want to go into all my principles and the way I try to do it, but because I've talked about it 1,000 times before. But I think when you have when you're able to pick the other side because you thought from the ground up, and you understand that you're actually looking at it not from, I did a Google search and I found these bad articles, and now I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to invest. I'm not going to be a part of the ecosystem anymore. If you can get past that and actually do the research to figure these things out, it's even beyond HEX and PulseChain and Richard Hart stuff, just in anything. I'm sure there's other crypto ecosystems out there in DeFi that are fine products. Maybe you don't get 10,000x. Maybe, the founder isn't, the one that we have here, but there are products out there that maybe being gatekept, maybe they don't have the reputation that they should when they actually produce a good thing for people to use and free themselves with. So out there. So I just think that's helped me a lot. And I think, listening to Richard over the last few years, it's kind of beat into me too, what these things look like, and taking the other side when you know that there's something more here. I think that's kind of led me into forming my DeFi mindset. So Kindness, we'll start with you. What has been, how do you even think about getting into a project? Like, how do you think about in DeFi, what are you looking for, and what have you, what are some of the traits of things that have been real DeFi for you in your journey so far?
Well, my journey is riddled with mistakes that have taught me the lessons that I need to learn. I feel like you're not doing crypto right if you haven't lost 20 grand. I mean, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's kind of, well, for a lot of people, it's more. For some people, but I did Celsius. I lost my butt on Celsius. And the first big loss I had in crypto was with a HEX copy, because I had seen HEX and, everybody had already made their millions of dollars. And I was like, okay, well, what's the next best thing? And a HEX copy came out and I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going to finally be early. And I did no research whatsoever. And this might come as a surprise to you, but I lost all my money. So, it's like battle tested, and I would wager a guess based on what I've seen, what I've heard, what we've all heard out there on about cryptos. That's how the majority of the people learn. Think they're going to go out and figure it out themselves, and you make the mistakes, and then you go like, oh, crap. But I'm okay with that. Like, I decided that crypto is the right thing, and I live a fortunate life. I never played with money I couldn't afford to lose. It doesn't mean I enjoyed watching it go bye, but it didn't affect my family. It didn't affect anything like that, except for my mental mindset for a little while. So it's a long way to answer your question, but today, 2 years later, several lumps on the head, 100%. I don't even think about a project unless it's not your keys, not your coins. So self-custody, number one, that's it. Outside of that, then I look at, founders tokens. If there's a bunch of founders tokens, no thanks. Which is kind of an interesting thing with the OA with HEX, because technically there's an awful lot of founders tokens. And it just everything that follows first principles. So I don't.
Well, just on that too, I think that's good, because that's a common argument of, why HEX isn't true DeFi, or why HEX is scam, or why HEX is. What makes you be okay with that? Like, there's thousands of people that are okay with that, and thousands of people think it's a good thing. Like, what gives you comfort that, hey, there is some centralization here and there, but we know, or we don't know who it is. The benevolence seems to be there, but like, how do you is that the biggest thing for people to get over? And what is your experience?
Well, it's a great argument both ways. I mean, certainly all the hexagons will be like, oh, the OA is no big deal. And that's because it's battle tested. So it's been around 3 years. We see that it is benevolent, that money really hasn't ever left. Now, people that have done forensic research on or chain analysis on the OA might say otherwise. I know Wolverine is one of the guys that did a lot of that, and he's since left the ecosystem. But for 3 years, the OA has been benevolent, hasn't done anything. So because it has that history of being just stagnant, that history is there, that it doesn't appear to be a big threat. Now, however, I can see the other side of the argument. So one of the things that I try to do now, way more than I ever did, I used to just chase money. It was like, oh, this one's going to be the next 10x, or this one's going to be, and didn't pay any attention to principles, tokenomics, founders, any of that crap. And as I just described, that cost me a college education in dollars for what it took me to learn crypto. But right. So the other side of the OA that I like to at least acknowledge exists, I'm not going to say FUD. I know hexagons will jump down my throat, but it is what it is. And there is a black swan event that could happen. Richard could lose the keys. If there's a death in the family and it goes to, family members or something, nobody knows what to do with it, and all of a sudden all those coins, the chance of that happening is very, very, very small. But anybody that's a math wizard will tell you, if the chance is even 0.00, 9 zeros and a 1, then the chance is actually 50%. So you have to take that into consideration when you look at the OA. But because history has shown us it's not a threat, and it's benevolent, that's why it's of no concern to me.
So track record is very important.
Track record. Yeah, I mean, and you look back at a lot of the scams that have happened, and you look back at the track records of the founders or anonymous founders. That's another thing I don't even touch anymore. And the history shows that a lot of these guys have done one rug pull after another rug pull after another rug pull, and you just, you said doing your research. Everybody says do your own research. Very few people know how to do research in crypto. And it took me 2.5 years and an awful lot of losses to finally realize what to do. But the good news is I didn't give up. So it's like, okay, I learned my lesson. I've got my lumps, but now based on all of the things that I learned, I know that I'm in the right place with the RH ecosystem. And now, granted, I am in some other ecosystems that people aren't happy with me about, but it is what it is. And I know that I'm going to earn that money back in 2 to 3 years based on the next bull run. It's like just it's a pothole on the road. It jarred me a little bit, but the outcome will be a sunny tropical place.
Yeah. You touched on a lot of people don't do research. I think literally research to most people is Googling for 5 minutes and then unlocking MetaMask. That's not quite the same that what the caliber that we're talking about.
I saw 2 YouTube channels where these guys have 1 million followers and they're talking about this is going to be the next best thing. The one thing, I mean, in RH, you probably get this too, and Ben, it's coming your way if it hasn't already. I have learned that you can't trust a YouTube channel at all. Like, I'm a small channel. I'm almost 7,000 subscribers. I get daily requests for advertising of coins. And some of them are big dollar amounts, like, hey, $5,000 if you do a 2-minute video plus a couple follow-up. It's like, holy crap, if you're swayed by that type of thing, I can see how these YouTube channels just promote one coin after another coin after another coin. It's because they're getting paid. So, take for a grain of salt the information you're getting because it's probably purchased.
Yeah, I definitely get some promotions in the email. It slowed down a little bit, but people, if you're a streamer, you will be tempted to do sponsorships of lots of variety, and some people, some of them are. I don't know if you like the product and you're into sponsorships. Maybe some of them work for you, but a lot of them, just the ones I've seen, look like super scams, and I wouldn't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, and one last thing, I don't want to hog all the time, but founder integrity and founder principles and founder history is super important to me. Like, I'm involved, not at all, but just like with streamer Inu, and people are like, what the hell is that? It's like, okay, I got to meet the founder. His mission is absolutely amazing. His name is Zed Cove. He is trying to help people that live on streaming for a income. And his goal is amazing. So his product and his, Streamerino and all that stuff, it's so much deeper than the crypto itself. It's more like a company, but that's kind of an outlier. You'd say, well, why would you even talk about that? Because the man behind the project is an amazing person. It goes along with crypto kindness. Like, his ethos, who he is as a person is just like somebody I want to be associated with. And so that matters to me as well.
Yeah, the people matter a lot in this too, and it's interesting to see all the streaming and all the channels. And again, it goes back to your mission with your channel. It goes back to the content you want to produce and things like that. Ben, maybe we'll probably wrap up in like 20 minutes or so. I want to get some PulseChain, AMA, and RH ecosystem stuff too, but we'll go to you just for a few minutes. DeFi mindset, like how have you evolved in this ecosystem to figure out what works?
Taking lots of bumps on the head, kind of like Crypto Kindness said. I'm even outside of crypto, I always learn by doing, which is a bad thing in crypto. So, I'd hear something's bad and I'd be like, oh no, and then I'd go try it and then it would suck and I'd lose money. Like yield farming, I have some videos about it, but I tried to ride the wave of yield farming in the Matic ecosystem and kind of just got burnt pretty bad. And then one thing I've learned about with Pulse is, like, when I had all this Matic and it went to 40 cents, and I'd bought it at like $0.015, 2 cents. I was like, oh, it's worth so much. Now all the smaller coins are going to pump on Matic because that's what everyone is saying. And Matic, no one ever thought it would get to 40 cents. So I'm making a very smart decision. And then I basically put a bunch of Matic into these coins that didn't do crap. And then the Matic went on to like $3, or I got it rugged in a yield farm or something like that. So lessons like that. And just think, a lot of stuff that Crypto Kindness is saying, like a founder who is integrable or whatever, is that even a word? But Yeah, I guess my story before kind of comes to a roundabout way of like streaming. Like I genuinely want to like help people in crypto because I know because I got burnt, like I think all of us here are kind of that same way. And I see Hex and PulseX, just the RH ecosystem. It seems like there's the most pure-hearted people in it, like genuinely. It's really interesting. I don't see it in any other crypto ecosystem or any other community of cryptocurrency where like people seem to like there's more to them than just crypto pump go up in a lot of ways too. Like you go to these different streams, like we're talking about mindset. You go to a lot of these streams and it's not about crypto necessarily. It's about life and just about like telling stories, opening up. Like I feel comfortable to like, I don't know, I basically just like blabbed a bunch of my resume to you guys just because like, it's like it feels like a safe space in a way, if that makes sense. And I think Richard Hart does have good intentions. I mean, it just makes sense. A lot of it's just logical. And a lot of what he says about just how Hex is designed to, we lock up our coins to support the price. We earn inflation for supporting the price. The only thing people care about is number go up. Yeah, that's true. That is like all we really care about. So I think it can actually help people because I had the experience when I first got into crypto, and I'm sure other people have done this too, where you're like, you tell all your friends. Because when I first got into it, I had 3 roommates who were my age, and I'm like, yo, such and such coin, dude, like get some, and they'd put money in, and then it wouldn't do anything, and they'd lose money, and I'm like, and I have this intention of helping them because I think we're both going to get rich, but then it turns out, oh, I just help you lose money, and it feels really bad when you do that. So now I feel like to be public streaming, like with my actual name, I'm thinking long term where like I want to be someone in the crypto space who's like helping people, like actually like being real with people in a way too, kind of like Richard Hart does because I've learned so much from him. So that's kind of my mindset with DeFi. And then also I realized, like I said, I was happy when I didn't have like, crypto or crypto gains. So I'm like, okay, if I yeet all my money into crypto and it doesn't work out, all right, I'll just be back to where I was, which was like pretty happy anyway. So like, that's why I'm kind of just like YOLO, yeet it, like that kind of mentality, I guess.
Well, that's a great mentality to start happy. Most people have the mentality of if this, then happy. You start with happy, so it's like everything else is irrelevant. That's awesome. What about you, RHMax? You're asking the questions. What's your thought on DeFi and your kind of decision tree? Obviously, we know it might be RHMax. I don't know.
Yeah, I think definitely feel very fortunate to come into DeFi within the RH ecosystem and learning what it should be and what it looks like to have winning DeFi. And that's really shaped a lot of my mindset around it. I never got into Celsius. I never made a lot of the mistakes, interestingly enough, because I had started out with Richard and developing these products and seeing a whole different perspective of what it looks like and what I even believed was good back then. So funny enough, yeah, I never lost the 20K on that stuff. I will say in the bear market and before DeFi became really popular and we had all Uniswap and all these products and HEX and things like that. I did, this is my second bear market. So funny enough, just watched everything keep going down. All the coins that I thought were going to take off and be amazing. But that was before DeFi. So those kind of mistakes I made, but I never really in DeFi, I don't feel like I've made any mistakes to learn from. Thankfully, because I've been all in on the RH ecosystem and the amazing products we have, within here, Hedron and Maximus and stuff like that. It's just really kept the shiny object syndrome to a minimum of trying to look outside of it because, hey, it's got all these amazing products and they're keeping more all the time. And with PulseChain, it's going to explode, no question. And yeah, I think somebody said this the other day, I can't remember who, but just the way that the high bar for when you come into PulseChain, a lot of people are Hexkins, a lot of people have seen other products that Hexkins have launched and a lot of people producing projects on PulseChain, the bar is like, trustless DeFi. And if you're not doing trustless DeFi and if you're not doing things that are healthy healthy ways of producing coins that have all the things that we're used to and all the guarantees that we like, then people may not like your products as much as the other ones that are going on. So I really like how in the RH ecosystem, the bar has been set, and then everything that comes after that, we know what to do. And the bar has even been set with sacrifice phases too. I don't, if you look outside of our ecosystem, does anyone know what a sacrifice phase is? I think this is literally, like, it has been popularized in this ecosystem like so many other things. It's amazing to see. So haven't made a lot of mistakes in DeFi. Have made plenty of mistakes in crypto, not a lot in DeFi, but I credit all that to me being here early and learning from the ground up what it's supposed to look like. And with that, I'm going to talk to the chat because I've been not ignoring them, but I've been letting them ask questions and not acknowledging them for a while. But I want to look at questions before we touch on the last couple topics here. Come on, I knew there was a couple here that I want to get to. Scrolling up.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Alex Merlos, how long will sell pressure last? Anyone want to take that one?
As long as people have big bags to sell and no longer believe. I mean, what we just saw, one whale dump a couple 100 million HEX recently. And that's kind of what took us down to 1.6 cents. And I know that through doing some chain analysis on a few other wallets, there's another wallet coming up in February that has a history of dumping when it comes off of stake, and he's got a couple 100 million. So you never know. I mean, if OGs no longer believe in the system and their 2 and 3 year stakes are coming up, that potential exists. However, the hype cycle for HEX is coming up. I mean, we saw that there was a big bump, which it's entertaining, the things we get excited about nowadays, right? It went from 1.6 to 2.5. Holy crap.
Yeah,
it also went from 2.5 to 1.6. Oh,
yeah, I've been hearing a lot of 50%. HEX is up 50% these days.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's also, if it's still down 75 in the last month. So it doesn't really matter, but we're coming into a hype cycle phase. You know, when V3 testnet gets launched, there's going to be a lot of excitement. And then when we get the final word of, okay, this block height PulseChain is going to launch, you know, you might start wishing you had bought at these levels instead of waiting for the next tier down. So I'm seeing a lot of comments surrounding dollar cost average. This is the time to dollar cost average. You know, I was talking on stream yesterday with Jake Sharp, and it's like when you jump out of the window, when you jump out of the basement window, there's not far to fall. If we're not at the bottom of the bear market, we're awfully close. So if you're dollar cost averaging now, you're going to be getting HEX at a really good price. And once the hype cycle starts surrounding PulseChain, you'll wish you had bought at these times. So how long is the dumping going to last? I think it's very short. That's my opinion. That's not financial advice, and it's worth what you paid for it.
Absolutely nothing. Got anything, Ben?
Right.
Not really. I mean, hopefully it ends soon, but who knows?
Gotcha. Nick, a PulseChain question on testnet MetaMask network. Can I see Pulse? I can see Pulse sacrifice points, but cannot see PulseX sacrifice points at normal. Yeah, either of you play with the testnet and be able to answer that one.
I haven't played with it in many months. I know that since Ethereum went to their new consensus model, that the old PulseChain testnet hasn't been working like as good as it had in previous days. So I can't answer that. I just know, don't worry.
You might have to import it. I think I remember having to import my PulseX into MetaMask on the testnet. So like you go to MetaMask, go to the bottom of MetaMask, click like import tokens, and then there should be a contract address for PulseX token somewhere.
It's on the PulseX website.
Sure. Yeah.
All that stuff is right there.
Yeah. Paste that in there and then it should show up. Unless you already did that, then I don't know.
And I mean, I would say, and certainly share your opinion with me because everyone's opinion is a little bit different. I don't know how much value there is in spending a lot of time on the test network right now because it's all about to change.
Things are changing.
Yeah.
Just want to get to this before we go on to next. How do you deal with all the other communities and founders, vampire attacking and fighting our bags? One was far play. Yeah. Well, one way to deal with it is don't pay attention to any of the drama. I feel like that feels really good. Every day I'm just like, people said these negative things. Oh, I didn't even,
Oh, no
it
way.
didn't even occur to me to even think about that. So that's how I deal with it. How do you guys deal with it?
Just ignore it. Mute the mute button.
Mute and
It's your
block
best
button.
friend.
Very
Yeah,
handy
your
buttons,
best
right?
friend.
Very
One thing
handy.
I encourage everybody to do is don't believe everything you hear on Twitter. That's the biggest problem. I mean, there's a lot of people. I know exactly what he's referring to. He's talking about Jack Levin, the Zen founder, and I'm involved in Zen. So maybe that question was directed towards me. I don't know. But a lot of the clips that you see, a lot of the things that you quote unquote hear they're clipped out of a space and time to give the narrative that the person that's clipping it wants you to hear. So don't see something on Twitter and get all upset. See something on Twitter and go and listen to the spaces call that it was taken from. And in fact, I think Trevon is one of the people that put the tweet out there about Richard Hart was lying. Jack never said that. Trevon made the title of that and then clipped the audio. So don't believe everything that you hear. I mean, everybody's got an agenda. Everybody wants you to go down their rabbit hole of emotions. Just take everything with a grain of salt. If it is something you're concerned about, actually go and listen to what was said, because anything taken out of context can sound any way the person that wants you to hear it can manipulate it to be. So, but honestly, the best advice is if it's something you're worried about, turn off Twitter, close the lid to the computer, because it just isn't important. PulseChain is going to do its thing. I'm wearing my PulseChain hat, even though I also do invest in and make videos on Zen. Listen, I'm as excited as everybody here about PulseChain, about PulseX. I sacked. I've got my strategies. I am a tried and true Hexagon. Don't fall into the hype. Twitter is a machine based on pulling at your emotional strings. And when you feel all pent up and angry, just think like, oh, I'm getting played by the machine. Damn it.
Yeah, the best way to not get pent up and angry is to not get pent up and angry. Just
Yeah.
Off the shoulders. Everything just flows off the shoulders.
Yeah.
A few
Water
minutes
on a
left,
duck's
guys.
back.
Yeah, exactly. A few minutes left, guys. Just want to touch on this before we go. Richard released a screenshot of this, and that's something that during the conference he was talking about it. He was reading the dev notes, and he was talking about the testnet v3. And the whole time I was hoping, oh, please pan the camera, please put it on the screen and show us. And then a couple days later, what do you know? He released a screenshot, and it's got a few tabs here: the PulseX tab, PulseChain, Pulse Bridge. So it looks like a bridge built into, I guess this is the staking portal or the PulseChain portal for testnet v3. Sacrifice checker. Become a validator, learn about staking, all these help buttons here, more stats. APR, we're not sure where that's going to be yet. Validators, we're not sure how many there'll be. Just being able to see this and be able to switch, it looks like you can switch between networks and stuff here. I don't know. What are you all most excited about when you saw this screenshot?
Progress. Documented.
Got the Obama fist in your progress.
Yeah, progress.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a confirmation that
change.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's
That's
coming, and all the people who are just like, Richard, give money back, refund. It's like, I don't know how you can literally think in your mind that it's not going to launch. Like we've just been strung along for 2 or 3 years, and Rich could be like, oh, actually, it was just too hard. Just like CFD token, it was just too hard. It's just not going to do it. That is just the most ludicrous idea I've ever heard. I think just the bear market gets people into the cycle of, let me think negative thing and try to prove myself how can it be correct. I don't get it.
I think people invested money that they shouldn't have. And seeing all of the nasty crap that has happened, FTX, Celsius, the list goes on and on and on of the rug pulls and stuff like that. I mean, if you're in a position where you're like, oh my God, I needed that money. It was supposed to come in 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever iteration of 2 there is. And all of this bad stuff has happened. People just go down the rabbit hole of negative thoughts. And I think that's what happens. And then of course it feeds on each other. You go to Twitter and you see somebody else. I mean, I see a comment here about all the RH haters that have come up in the last 90 days. It's the negative energy feeds on the negative energy, which creates more negative energy. And it's a cycle and people get swept up into it. If you read the book, I know RHMax, you like talking about books, reality transurfing. It's a giant pendulum. Twitter is a giant pendulum. The HEX ecosystem is a giant pendulum. And if it gets you, it's got you.
Sir, what do you think, Ben? What you can? What
Yeah.
has been the most? When you saw the screenshot, were you happy? Were you sad? Were you progress? What were you?
I was pretty. I guess I was a little indifferent because it's like every time I've gotten excited, my hopes have been crushed. So I'm just like, oh. I'm like, cool. But I made in my last weekly update video, which was titled "PulseChain's never launching. We're all doomed." Very nice clickbait. Very nice clickbait title.
Yeah.
I said how I feel like it's never going to launch because it's just taking so long and it keeps getting delayed and delayed. And that's how I felt. Like I said earlier, when I had no electricity, I felt the same way. I felt like I'm never getting electricity. But obviously, and so the point of I made in the video was that your feelings don't dictate the truth. Like your feelings often lie to you. And I think that's what's going on here is like people are getting feeling all this type of way. They're like, oh, I feel like this. Oh, and they're going down the emotional rabbit hole like you guys are saying. And yeah, I mean, there's reality and then there's like your feelings and, you know, I think it's all good. Just got to wait.
Facts don't. You keep saying feelings, and I keep thinking of facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah, that's true. What I want to touch on that because I saw this in the comments. And Ben, when you said, when I saw the tweet, you were indifferent, and honestly, I was like frustrated because I'm like, doggone it. I don't get my paycheck till next week. And I've got this like list of limit orders that I just put in yesterday. And of course now it's pumping. I'm like, oh, so I was frustrated. I would honestly love to see one more candle down very selfishly so I can fill some limit orders as I was talking about early dollar cost averaging. Cause I want a bigger bag of HEX before the hype cycle comes in. So the limit orders are there now. I got to go onto Twitter and spread a bunch of FUD about how I heard how, PulseChain is never going to launch because RHMax said so. And, I'm going to start my own little negative storm out there so I can get limit orders filled.
I have some clips coming out, and the titles do include PulseChain 2023, 2024, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
nice.
I always get, every time, I remember last year, I had something like, is PulseChain going to launch 2023? It's one of the comments was literally, because people like you keep saying it, it's going to make it true. I'm like, me? Because I titled the video that way, that's going to get to Richard and the dev team. They're like, well, actually, I think they're okay with it. The influencers are making titles. They're okay with it. And like, no, that's not me. That's going to.
I did a video a couple days ago, and I titled it "Is PulseChain in Trouble?" And I asked. It was a great conversation because it was candid, it was honest, and I was asking the questions that people want to hear. I mean, there's one thing about being positive. There's another thing about false hopium, and you got to kind of walk that balance. And like I said, with my channel, I like to just be very transparent. So I know there's all these questions out there, and I asked, Jake Sharp, who is a huge PulseChain, I don't want to say Maxi, but he's just about as excited on PulseChain as a puppy is on treats. And, but he's got the development experience. He's got the crypto experience. He's got all that type of stuff. So I just asked the questions that I know people are thinking, and it was a fantastic stream. It's anything but in trouble. But, people need to see that and then listen to it, because then they'll walk away going, oh, yeah, I really don't have anything to worry about. Maybe I just need to chill out.
Yeah. I got a question from Steve before we go into rapid fire. Is there an app that sends you notifications when GUI fees are low? I don't know of one, but that's that would be a good app. You guys know of anything on
that? Yeah, I do. It's called Matcha or 1inch. The only reason why people want low GUI is so that way they can, buy or make transactions. So if you're trying to buy, just put in limit orders on Matcha and 1inch, and then you don't need to worry about the price of GUI. But in terms of an app, I don't have one.
Or
I just
email notification. Or...
Yeah,
Yeah.
Usually
I mean, you
Sunday
can
night,
sign up. You can sign
Sunday
up for,
night is good.
yeah, Sunday night, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, just like do your stuff on a weekend and then set limit orders and be gone. Don't spend too much time worrying about it.
Yeah, or I think you can always just, if you want to stay up late or wake up super early, usually you get lower fees then. But yeah, I kind of want to Google for just notifications in general of good crypto situations. That could be a good app.
Yeah.
Let's talk about two good books. I have to do this, and then we'll do rapid fire, a couple questions after that. But I want to make sure we get in my early episodes. We always did two good books, and
Yeah,
kindness
I love
is
it.
number one on here. And I wanted to come in with a couple real quick to talk about $100 million offers by Alex Hormozi. I've been on I think in the last 3 years, I've not consumed more content from anyone else other than Richard Naval and now Alex Hormozi. Jake Sharp got me on Alex Hormozi trip.
Yeah.
Indirectly. He just mentioned him a couple times during interviews. And I was like, oh, who's that guy he talked about? And I Googled him. God, this guy's amazing. Alex Hormozi, fantastic. $100 million offers, super short, sweet book, right up your alley, kindness on the selling and marketing side, because he's like this master salesman, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned reality transurfing, which a few Hexicans have recommended it to me. I'm still reading it, technically listening to it on audiobook to see what I can get out of it. But I'm impressed so far, and I think that that could bring some mental changes, some good things for me to reason about and think about the world as well. I love things that challenge my current assumptions. I'm always open-minded to that. So reality transurfing seems like a good one to do that. Yeah, what's a couple good books you want to bring up for everyone?
Reality transurfing. So yeah, I mean, Tyler even says here in the comments, he says reality transurfing literally changed my life, and that is the exact same for me. I mean, if you want to understand the emotions and all the things that happen in crypto, read that book. But you got to be open-minded. Like, you can't go in that with a fixed mindset, and you got to be really open-minded to read that book because it's a little bit out there. But I'm listening to it for the second time now, and I've listened to a few certain chapters like 4 and 5 times in a row because it's so important, like the law of balance forces and pendulums. Like, once you understand pendulums, I find myself laughing at myself often on a daily basis because I'll get so mad or something, and all of a sudden I'll be like, pendulums got me, damn it. And then I'll laugh and walk away. Or balance forces is another thing, just the law of balance forces that they talk about in that book. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's a long book. It's like 19 or 20 chapters, and each chapter is anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long. Every chapter builds on itself. And by the time I got done with the book for the first time, I was like, oh my God, mind just blown. Now that's to say that I haven't read Naval, and I am mad at myself for that because you've recommended it to me like 3 or 4 times, and I got to do that. But
yes,
that one book was so impactful to me that I'm like, the last 8 months I've just dedicated to that book. $100 million offer by Alex Hormozi is on my short list. And then one other thing that I need to start doing way more of it, which is just mental health and mind space work, which I also picked up from reality transurfing. And one of my clients, I've been doing a lot of one-on-one consulting. It's been a ton of fun. Said that there's a great book that I'm going to read. It's called The Surrender Experiment. The author is Michael Singer. So I haven't read that yet, but that's all about surrendering to, actually, I don't know what it's all about because I haven't read about it, but it's about the power of meditation and surrendering to your thoughts and clearing your mind and all that type of stuff. So I got to get better at that. Being a YouTube content creator and on Twitter has taught me a lot of things. And the number one thing being, I got to get a whole lot better at managing my emotions.
Yeah, it's a great one. Surrender yourself. Interesting. Ben, what do you got?
So both you guys named 2 books that I really want to read. The Alex Hormozi book, a friend of mine literally texted me like 2 days ago and was like, you got to read his book. It's so good. And then the reality transurfing, I'm always seeing people on Twitter and Jake Sharp talking about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to check that out. But a book that I'm thinking of is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
That's a fantastic book.
Yeah, that book.
Mark Manson.
Yeah, that really changed my life. I think it's written, you can read it so easily. Like, I read it so fast. So if you're somebody who doesn't like reading, it's a good way to get into it. And it's just really great book. I think it kind of set me off on like feeling confident about kind of an entrepreneurial journey, and also like getting, if you've ever had depression, anxiety, that book was super, super helpful for that kind of stuff as well. But then Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I actually read both of those books because of the HEX community, because people like Funding Jim and Dollar Cost Crypto also have like talked about those books. So I've read those books in the past 2 years, and those 3 books have all completely changed my life so much. And it's just goes to what I was saying earlier, how like 2 of them, the HEX community was really, I've never had any other crypto community really like change my life like that. Like, oh, read this good book to better yourself and become a better person. It's like, what other crypto coin has people out here doing that kind of thing? But
it's an amazing community.
Good books. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should have a HEX community book club and just have that resource somewhere, because I got a ton I can put on. I got 10 or 15 books that have just, each one of them, I wouldn't say, it's kind of like this body of work thing. Instead of one book changing your life, it's like each one I take and apply in a different vertical. Like with Alex Hormozi, my whole sales marketing thing, it will just blow your mind in that vertical, but it's not going to help you, in a lot of other areas. And Naval helps you in a lot of ways too, versus Richard, versus Mark Manson with the subtle art, and all these people. And reality transurfing is a whole other journey as well. So I think we should put that doc together actually.
Yeah, Ben. The subtle art of not giving an F is basically the summary of one chapter in reality transurfing, which is talking about placing way too much importance on things. Just like when you remove importance, suddenly things just don't trigger you. I said trigger. God, I hate that word, yet I just said it. Suddenly things just don't trigger you anymore. Well, yeah, that's actually true. And then I see Let's Get Hexual here says the energy bus. The energy bus is also great. But all of these books, what's interesting is it's like all these books they build on each other, and it's hard to say which one's better than the other because they're all compiled in one great book. And I'm curious, Max, you did read the 52, what is it?
The
Art of the Good Life.
Art of the Good Life. It was 52 topics.
Life hacks. Did you like that one? I know you had texted me and said, yeah, it was great. I love that one too.
That was a great one. That was one, it's kind of just, it really, that's one of the books where if you read it early and you haven't read a lot of other stuff we talked about, you would learn even more. Yeah. But even I was far in my wealth wisdom journey when I read it and when you recommended it. And even then I picked up 4 or 5 things. I'm like, whoa, that's a very interesting perspective. Like I would have never been able to reason or rationalize about that particular topic after hearing his story and the nuance around it. So that's one of the things where whether you've already read all the book club or not, you're going to get something from it. So that was Art of the Good Life. Great book.
I make that's like my New Year's Day book. Every year I read that because it's short, digestible chapters that are like, aha, that's right. I got to remember that principle, and aha, that's right. No, I did that yesterday. Like,
that was a great book. All right, we're gonna get out of here on this. I want to do rapid fire. Basically, I'll just say something, and then in 10 words or less, answer it. We'll just make it really quick. Yeah, you gotta compress the language. First question is, what should the entry price be for Richard Hart Museum?
Free.
Ooh, €5.
I like it. €5. Who will be the next big interview with Richard Hart?
Ivan on tech.
Crypto kindness.
That would be nice.
I don't
know. What's documentary coming out? When it comes out, will it win an award, like either India Award or Academy Award? Will it win some kind of award? The documentary, Highest of Stakes.
Yeah.
Depends on what network it comes out on.
Okay. Favorite project in the RH ecosystem in 2023?
PulseX.
Oh man. PulseChain.
Chain. Okay. I mean,
I really
you could have went
can't
anywhere. You could have
decide.
went.
Yeah.
You could have went Hedron. You could have went Fiat. You could have went anywhere. But all right, yeah, those two you can't win.
I'm
Let's see.
declaring that it's going to launch in 2023 and it's going to kick butt and take names.
That's the next one. So keep it under 10 words.
Okay.
PulseChain launch date. Range.
Testnet in a month, 3 months testnet, several failed 2 weeks notices, September.
Okay.
2030. Just kidding.
3 words left.
2030 psych. 2023 sometime, hopefully.
2023 sometime, hopefully. Okay. Will HEX make a new all-time high within the next 6 months?
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay. And the last one. Will there be a sacrifice phase for the PulseChain wallet this year?
No.
No. Yeah, no.
Damn, I can't end on such negativity.
Well, it's not negativity. I
I know,
try to
I
think
know.
of it as realism.
I know. Okay, one more. Something. Let me get something you'll say yes to. No, I'm just kidding.
Get to yes.
No, I'm gonna screw myself on this one. But have either of you read Scivive?
Well, I haven't read it, but I've listened to a Wild SJ's YouTube channel.
Which, yeah, read it or consumed it in audio.
Okay, yes,
Either way.
I have.
There you go.
Yes, part of it, but I can't read books on my phone like that because I was reading it on my phone. I was like, this sucks.
It's hard to
books on your
read.
phone. If you're reading the text of it on your phone,
Yeah, like because I went in the
Oh, wow.
Telegram
Yeah.
and downloaded it, and like I just can't read a book on my phone, and then I haven't listened to the audio. So
last one. Will 2024 be the year that 1% of Hexkins and Polskins retire?
so 2023.
2024.
2024. 1%, yes.
Maybe, but probably yes.
We're banking on 1% to have their stuff in order. I guess that's the nuance behind it. And 2024, of course, to be the bull market that we hope it becomes.
Yeah. What do you think?
Good question. I hope it is. It's hard. I definitely, these questions, I always think, I really try to give accurate answers as far as what I try to separate what I hope happens versus, to me, it's like this layer of, there's this hope and what I want to say out loud on stream. And there's the layer underneath, which is this deeper thinking of, well, all these variables have to happen. Well, if this thing goes correctly. So I think there's a high chance. I'll say that. I can honestly say I think there's a high chance in 2024, 1% of Hexkins, Polskins will retire or be able to retire at least.
The limit to that question is everybody's definition of retire is different. So if you were to set a number or something like that, but
definitely.
PulseX,
just in general, go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, you just think about the timeline backwards. So the the Bitcoin halving at the current block rate is roughly June of 2024. Is it 20? Oh, crap. Now I'm all over the place. I got to look at the map again. I know that June of 2024 is important. I think that's the Bitcoin halving. And then it's typically a year after that. But during that entire year, when I say a year after that is the peak of the bull market, typically, give or take a couple months. But so if you looked at June of 2024, 6 months after that, it's halfway to the peak of the bull market. There's plenty of OG hexagons that are going to be long gone by then. And by long gone, maybe they're done working and they're still involved in the ecosystem or whatever. But I just think that's end of 2024. There's going to be plenty of people with plenty of money that could, if they wanted to, retire. I'm going to be one of them. I'm just declaring that right now.
I think that retirement, I would define it in this context as having enough money to own your time, and it has nothing to do with working or not. You can work for yourself. You can do whatever you want, but you don't have to work. You have the choice because you own your time, and you can choose to keep selling it or you can choose not to, but you have that choice. So you retire in the way of, you retire from, it's not even retire from the working class. It's like you retire.
You no longer have to sell
retire
your
with
time.
your time.
Yeah.
You retire with your time. Now your time is yours. That's how I would define it. And I think 2024, and we got a long, we got a 1 year time frame in 2024. We got it all the way from January to December. If the bull market comes, PulseChain's out. Jesus, PulseChain better be out
Exactly.
by December 2024.
2030.
Yeah, 2030 has been said.
That's my next clickbait.
All those factors add up. People hang on to their sack wallets. They don't just be extra liquidity for everyone else who wants to pick up cheap ones. And that was some comment I'm just butchering right now. But anyways, yeah, I think there's a good chance that happening. So yeah, we shall see. Gentlemen, it's been fantastic. Thank you both for coming on the show. Kindness, it's great to reminisce about,
It is.
8 months ago, just over 8 months, I think we had.
Doesn't it seem like eternity?
It seems like forever. I feel like I've been streaming for years, and it's not even been 1 year yet.
It ages you. Next time we stream with Ben, he's going to look like an old man. He's like, Jesus, what just happened?
Ben's going to have a long gray beard. We're like,
right.
Oh, what's the
trolls?
People are still going to be asking what that jersey is in the background, but you're like, I thought I told you 40 years ago.
That was just 3 weeks ago, man.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? Ben, again, a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for coming and sharing your insight and your aptitude for conflict and just very interesting stories that shape the way that we think about DeFi even today.
Yeah, very much so. Thanks for inviting me back on. This is a pleasure. I'm super happy to see how fast your channel's grown and all the things you've been able to do. Ben, I look forward to seeing you grow. Honestly, I wish the best of luck to both of you and to everybody that was here in the chat today. Appreciate you being here. We do this for you. My channel's here to help folks. I know RHMax the same. Sounds like Ben the same. Send us questions. If you need an uplifting comment, if you need someone to laugh at me, I can provide both of those things.
Where
take care of yourself.
Find you kindness?
I should probably put that up there, but it's the inverse of my name, so it's at Kindness Crypto on Twitter.
Yeah. And Ben, looks like you got your ducks in a row right there at Ben Dubard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Somebody recommended B-Dubs earlier. Just throwing it out there. B-Dubs.
So my handle was B-Doobie because that was my nickname since middle school. But it was middle school, so it actually doesn't have anything to do with what people think it does.
Sure.
So that's one reason I changed it because it was giving off the wrong impression. And I was like, I don't want to give off that impression, Yeah.
I can see that. That's funny. It's funny that it literally doesn't have anything to do with that. Amazing. Well, everyone, have a great weekend. I'll be back Monday with Million to the Moon. He'll be coming back on Monday. Cool. It should be a great stream. Yeah, I think it'll be good. And without further ado, Scivive 5555, everyone.